And then we understand the reality of the happiness, the opposite of the sorrows. Happiness, we think, temporary happiness, like a kind of changeable happiness, unstable happiness, not kind of definitive happiness, attainment of the human God, something is like temporary. We are not concerning that. We are concerning for the forever happiness, unchangeable happiness of the enlightenment or the Buddhahood. And once we are concerning that, then we should to have enthusiastic kind of the aspiration or inspire. Wow, and it's like this kind of statement, this kind of result, this kind of achievement, really I want, and also surely to other sentient beings want it. And also in the Pajina Paramata, it's saying that if someone's too concerning this statement of the Buddhahood, and you have automatically enthusiastic, and you are naturally occurring of the aspiration, bodhicittas, and kind of wish, wow, that kind of statement. And I wanted, of course, not only myself. If I'm a follow up the Bodhisattva's path, and I'm a concerner of the benefit sentient beings, also may they also to be in that statement. And like this kind of aspiration and attitude, it is the extraordinary. And we need that first to concerning absolute reality of the enlightenment. That is at the beginning we need to concerning. I'm going to study this sword of wisdom for thoroughly ascertaining realities, the welfare of the sentient beings. And through that, maybe I can to study basically the knowledge of like phenomena, to understand what is the realities. And in the middle, I want to study the knowledge of the different path. And in order to showing to in the future other sentient beings about the path, the liberation path. There are different paths of the Shavaka, Pachika, or Bodhisattvas, and the modern paths included. And to learn to all those knowledges, and to be enlightenment, or to make the enlightenment, those all the single kind of our mothers. What does it mean? The single mother say, and in this in the space there's no existence. Never we met our mothers or the fathers. There's no single sentient being's existence without we meet or connect to the sentient beings. Therefore, we call we think about all the parents of our sentient beings. And then it's like through concerning these sentient beings, we need to apply our path. In the path, there is the different path. And then it's like first times, it is like after this title, there is homage to the mature matters. And Mipham said, you have not the slightest confusion about philosophy and have completely abandoned every thought. Your mind has no doubts about the 3 points. Before Machushiri, the treasure of wisdom, I bows. And this is the author's homages. Of course, the Samans who make the commentary for the Buddha's teachings, quoting the 3 Tripitakas, and relate to the Vinayanas Tripitakas, the homage goes to the Buddhas. And the Sutta Tripitakas, homages to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. And the Abhidhammayan Suttas, the Tripitakas, homages all the times, homage go to the Machushir Mutas. Because first is only the focal object of the Buddha himself. Because like a subtle, very profound teaching connect to the causalities. And the second homage to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, and according the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, it is according the profound Buddha's views. It is the difficult to understand and relate to the non-conceptualization of the samadhis. Is necessary to questions, answers, Buddha and Bodhisattvas. And third one is, homage goes to the Machushir Goshas. More is like connect to the Bodhisattva's conduct. Vast, the ocean of the Bodhisattva's conduct, or the Buddhas. It is the vast and large, subtle, and we need wisdoms. And therefore, homage goes to the Machushirs. And then it's like, that is the more related to the Sutta teachings. And the Tantra teachings, it is a little bit like relate to your individual spiritual friend. And therefore, any kind of Buddha himself, his teachings, homage goes Samantha Bhatta, all the commentaries, all the time is homage to your own individual root teachers. And here is, maybe it is connected to all the teachings of the Buddhas, but it is specifically connected to the Buddhas of the Abhidhammaya Suttas. Abhidhammayas, it is very profound, very much connected to the syllogism, logicals. Through the syllogism or the inner logicals or the different valid cognitions, establish to the different philosophies. Those philosophers hasn't got any slots or confusions, completely abandoned every thoughts. Every thoughts, the thoughts of the do not realize it or do not understand about the reality of the philosophies. And also someone's kind of understand, but not fully understand. And of course, there is the fully understander of the philosophies. But this kind of, there are different thoughts, but there's any kind of existence thoughts related to the word or the meanings of the philosophies. Here is the philosophy of the Buddha's teachings. the ascertaining reality of the relative truth, reality of the absolute truth. And this kind of philosophy of the realities. In the real reality, in the absolute reality perspective, and whatever appearances, and we need to understand inevitable the relative truth. In the relatively, like a kind of cause and result, and there are something is incontestable nature of the relative truths. These three things are we should to know about. There's no need or there's no existence of the faults through the valid cognitions of the relative valid cognitions. Direct, indirect, very indirect. And therefore, the philosophy, the meaning of the philosophy is like kind of something is systematically established their own systems to understanding of the realities. For example, if someone's searching about the happiness, and the asserter itself has some philosophies. If you do this and that, if you follow this and that, then finally you have happiness. And this system is we call the philosophy. And this philosophy, do they have confusion or the faults? We need to analyze through the syllogism in valid cognitions, through the different valid cognitions, to analyze different philosophies. These philosophies are or is no confusion or there's no faults. If we do not analyze through the valid cognitions, and also all the philosophies maybe is without confusion, without faults, very difficult. But of course, each individual perspective of the philosophies, to say, my system, my philosophies are no confusion, no faults. And then I might say, there's my system of philosophy, no confusion, no faults. That is not make the proof evident. And we need to analyze through the analysis and through the logicals, through the wisdoms, the wisdom of the scripture by the enlightened beings, and wisdom of pith instructions, through the experienced about true natural realities, that is our own individual spiritual friends. And also we use our own individual wisdoms. Through this kind of three wisdoms or intelligence, and then is we use the wisdom of the listening, wisdom of the contemplating, and wisdom of the meditations, and determinations or determinedly establish any kind of philosophies. Do they have confusion or the faults? Of course, here it says, have not slight such confusions about the philosophies. But that is like, here it says, is through the maturers, the treasure of the wisdoms. This the maturers' wisdom is the wisdom of the omniscient wisdoms. Omniscient wisdoms, the wisdom, unification wisdom of the suchness and the manyness. This wisdom is in the incontestable superiors. And no top of that. Why you call that treasures? Because all the knowledges, everything is completed in that wisdoms. And that perspective, the wisdoms, or this wisdom's perspective, then is the philosophies are no confusion, no faults. Therefore, your mind, the mind of the mature, the mind of the wisdoms, there's no doubt about the 3 points. 3 point. 3 point, it is like a kind of very special of the 3 point. We can to say it's like the direct, indirect, very the indirect. And also it's like the direct valid cognitions, indirect valid cognitions, very indirect valid cognitions. That kind of 3 point perspective, there is no kind of confusion, no doubts. And also through this stainless of the 3 valid cognitions, and to analyze, it is like a kind of the provisional teachings and the experience teachings, and then it's any kind of different philosophies. These kind of 3 perspectives, there's no confusions, no faults, and this is, and also there is we have the 3 valid cognitions, relative valid cognitions, and the absolute valid cognitions, and the unification of these true valid cognitions established the reality of philosophies, and that perspective, there's no confusion, there's no faults. And therefore, first time is the treasure wisdom mind of the mature, and I bow before the use. And that is the author of the Rinpoche's to homage.